So, a movie I felt like was never coming out came out. And I did like it. I will admit, it is not a 10 out of 10 banger.
Oh no.
It has some issues, but I did like it. I'm going to say something off the jump so I don't forget to mention it. You and me have both been a part of a movement, I guess I could call it that. If you show a single frame of a movie, the trailer spoiled the entire movie.
Yeah,
Now, I'm going to tell you for the first time in my life, I feel like a movie was actively fucked because of the trailers it had. Because this movie's structure is built upon and determined and builds to the Red Hulk reveal that you already know is happening, where, when, and the exact background.
yeah.
And then the whole movie is giving you multiple moments where he might turn into the Hulk, but you know it's not going to happen because it's not outside, it's not on the street, and there's no pedals around.
The only as far as the MCU goes, the only other movie that has had that same sort of problem with the marketing, as far as I remember, is the first Avengers.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, but that was just kind of everything's happening, blah! So it's kind of like, okay, I get it. People are gonna meet each other, but like I still didn't know it was how the Chitauri were gonna come. All that, like 90% of this movie is if we're going to stop him from turning him into the Hulk. And newsflash, we didn't. This is the only time I felt legit like a trailer kind of kneecapped a movie.
Only kinda like to the extent where I understand why they had to show the Red Hulk in the trailers, just because that is kind of a selling point. Even though it is something that they were like building towards, and it would have been better to not have revealed that in the trailers.
Do you know what this reminds me? Oh boy, I gotta remember if I'm getting the right Mission Impossible. Was it Mission Impossible 2 where they show Anthony Hopkins' entire character
And he's
the
only in it for
trailer?
like 2 minutes.
And his entire scene is the trailer. Like literally every part of him in the movie was in the trailer. And that's
bad.
That was bad. I'm like, that's bordering on what this was. Like the fight was so cool and you didn't see all of it. But it's just I get I don't know. I wish there would have been a way that they couldn't because I came to watch this movie knowing, even though that the Red Hulk was in it, knowing full well I'm not getting it for more than 10 minutes.
Of course not, because the effects that brought the Red Hulk to life are massively expensive.
So again, it's dedicating, in the grand scheme of things, like let's talk about Endgame. Damn near 3-hour movie. They put out enough trailers to total 6 minutes. If you accumulate not reused footage. And everyone said the entire movie was ruined. Because you saw 6 minutes of the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
This, you saw 3/4 of the entire reason why people are tuning into this movie. And I'm not saying they're not tuning in for Anthony Mackie. They're not. I was watching this because of Anthony Mackie. But
Same.
let's not do that again. You actively hurt this movie with how the structure of the film is built.
I mean, there are other things that hurt.
There are other things, but you can't sit and go, well, it's not going to happen there. It's not going to happen there. don't give away the prize behind the door before we get into the building that the door's in. But so you could tell there was reshooting in this movie. Remember when we said that, Rob Liefeld might be a little bit over his head when he says that Disney want to work with him, it might be his fault. When he's going all over social media and ranting and raving and bashing Marvel, I can't imagine why. This movie was not completely reshot 4 times, people.
No,
Parts of it were
It
reshot.
was only reshot twice.
Parts of the movie were reshot, not the entire movie. This movie would cost $500 million if it was shot twice fully. Come on now. Okay. So the beginning of this movie, the beginning fight scene is great. Getting to see Torres actively in the suit right away, showing that he's had some training time and all that. It's really good. Showing the full strength of the vibranium suit and how it can actually make Sam survive some pretty brutal hits is pretty good. Mm-hmm. Giancarlo is great, as always.
I wish we could have seen more of him.
I do too, so I'm going to be really honest with you. I could have dealt with trailers where if a version of this movie, he was dealing with specifically the Serpent Society for a good chunk of it, and then you never showed the Red Hulk. Because we were told by a press release that, what's his name? Tim Daly? No, what's his name?
Tim Blake Nelson.
Tim Blake Nelson was going to be in the movie as the leader.
Yeah, they never showed him in any of the marketing.
No. And he's the real main villain of the movie. So the guy who's in 80% of the film, you didn't show in the trailers. There was a way they could have cut around the Red Hulk. I'm just gonna be honest with you. The more I think about it. But yeah, he was really good. The mind control, although as soon as you heard the music hit, I was like, okay, he's being mind controlled. I get that. And then figuring it out more, unless I missed it, I'm going to be really honest with you. I very well might have. Other than if you knew the character beforehand from looking them up, would you have actually known? Hi, Umbria. Okay.
He's
Would
probably
you
on his way to see it now.
probably would you have known that character was who that character is? The one that the big fuss is about?
The lead. Ruth.
Yeah. Would you have known?
If I didn't know just from all of the hullabaloo, no, I would have just assumed she was just just a government official who happens to have history with
The Red Room.
yeah.
So I understand like that's the character, but they kind of took everything that everyone didn't like out of the character.
Basically.
So, and I get it. There's heroes that are from areas that we don't like. I'd hate to break it to everyone. Should 90% of the world not watch this movie because they think America does some bad things? Because if you're judging the character by the country they're from, a lot of a lot of the world shouldn't like Cap.
I mean, you raise a good point.
I'm not trying to start a fuss. I'm just being honest of like, that character comes from a place that's done bad things. so no one that lives from that place can be good at all? I understand some stuff is sensitive, but it got to a point of where y'all are getting mad for the purpose of getting mad. If a superhero can't be a superhero because of where they're born, that's pretty shitty, and it's bordering on racist.
The same could be said for the actress herself, who, yes, she was involved in the IDF for, like, you know, she was involved, but not to like the extent of, like other, you know, other people that from where she comes from.
Yes, exactly. And certain people from where they're from, they're by law required to do some of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that you can't, like, whatever, your choice is yours, but sometimes maybe take the hate blinders off for 2 seconds and objectively, or I should say not objectively. Am I thinking of the right word? Subjectively look at something and be like, do I really need to hate this thing as much as I do and not watch an entire property because of a character that's in it for 20 minutes? I mean, am I completely wrong? Like, I get the context of certain things, but I felt like we were making a freaking planet out of a molehill.
Like, this is one of the reasons why I choose not to boycott anything, because I just don't have the energy to be that angry about everything all the time.
Exactly. And if we're going to get down to it, with the amount of things we're willing to cancel people over nowadays, you should probably stop watching movies. Because I guarantee you, every celebrity you like, most of them anyway, has done something that would irritate you, your political side, your religious side, or anything. You just don't know they've done it or to how little of extent it is, because nowadays if you stub your toe in the wrong direction of the sun, you shot 5 kids. There used to be a time where we hated people that were like Harvey Weinstein, who deserved it. But anyway, enough of that soapbox. I had to get that point in because, whoa. The more I looked at it, the more I'm just like, I think we're making way too much out of this. But okay. Joaquin is great.
Yeah, he is.
He's fantastic. He's actively annoying, and I kind of like that. He's very bubbly. So, like, and Sam wasn't exactly the straight-laced guy, so you have to really take someone over the edge in order for Sam to play the straight man.
Yeah. But I mean, I like that, I like that dynamic, that they can be, they can be playful but also be serious when they have to be.
Absolutely. Hello, Adam. But I do love how, and I'll never understand what the bordering on biblical protest there was with Marvel fans to not acknowledge that The Incredible Hulk is a Marvel movie.
That one doesn't really make sense. Is it just because it was the only Marvel movie at the time that Universal distributed, and then it bombed, so that Marvel just kind of chose to ignore it?
I'm not even talking about Marvel. I'm talking about the people that have seen these movies that are just like, no, that factually isn't a Marvel movie.
Yeah, that's just that. I ignore those people
because Marvel put Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross in, and they're like, no, they're recasting him as that role again. That movie doesn't exist. Robert Downey Jr.'s in the movie!
Mm-hmm.
may be an after credit scene that, if you look at the dialogue, actively doesn't make any fucking sense. But it's there. I also love, I have to make one quick point. Someone pointed this out the other day. Everyone gets really bitchy about how the Hulk lost to Thanos, that Mark Ruffalo's Hulk lost to Thanos, and that Ruffalo's Hulk is the weak Hulk, and if it would have been Edward Norton's Hulk, he would have beat the shit out of Thanos with no problem. And then they bring up, do y'all remember when he was struggling against Abomination?
Yeah, that wasn't an easy fight.
No. Do y'all remember when he was being held back by tank fire? And then Ruffalo's Hulk was dismantling a giant 5-story wolf on the Rainbow Bridge? Yeah, he did almost lose that fight. You're 100% right. I love how people just forget the parts of the things they want to argue about to win. They're like, if you're going to bring something into the argument, be prepared to have all of it used against you, because guess what? You can't only use parts of it. Sorry. That's not how reality works.
Seriously.
I do appreciate that they did show him with the mustache.
He looked silly with
Very.
that, but like that's kind of the point.
Yes, exactly. But and then it actually makes, because like the trailer's funny, haha. I'm still getting used to the new look because it's Harrison Ford. It's not Family Hurt anymore.
It's literally the same joke they did in Iron Man 2, where Don Cheadle comes in. He's like, "I'm here. It's me. Deal with it."
Deal with it. But no, they're like, they actually do show him without the mustache. So I'm like, okay, that wasn't just for trailers. That was actually a thing. And them going out of their way to show the Harlem fight, to show him going against Abomination, all this. They're like, every bit of it's canon. You stupid idiots can stop this charade that you're going on about this movie not being in existence. Because guess what? All of it's there now. The leader, everybody. Even a thing we're going to go to at the end that I thought they actually weren't going to get this person the way they were dealing with it the entire movie.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to there, but
yeah.
For now, speaking of the leader, what did you think of his design?
I liked it. It was enough to show that there was mutation. I did not think they were actually going to make his head a fucking cucumber.
I appreciate that they did that.
Yeah, because there's a difference between comic accurate and just not doable. Like, in my brain, I could not feasibly picture a way you make that look not like the dumbest thing that was ever. They thought MODOK looked bad. That is accurate MODOK, and everyone hated it. Can you imagine if you saw accurate leader with a 3-foot-tall forehead?
Oh no, that would look horrendous.
Yeah! Thank God they did it the way they did, because he looks more mutated this way than he does in comics. Because his head just looks bigger, but it looks like it matches the character. Because his design is made to look like this is the character, not like I used to look this way and then my head got big. So, no, I very much like it. I'm appreciating gamma radiation making someone look gross.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's radiation.
Exactly. Also, I just really like Tim Blake Nelson, and
Yeah.
I'm happy that he had more of a presence in the movie.
Yeah, he was very menacing. He was a good in the shadows type of thing. Like now, I mean, I don't know how they could have done this. If you could have somehow marketed this movie as Isaiah gets framed, and Thunderbolt Ross is attempting to steal adamantium, and it's Sam versus Thaddeus. There could have been a way with enough trickery and movie footage to where you could have hid the leader and Hulk. and or at least not said who the leader was. He still could have had the voice distorted a little to not say it was Tim, but like I get that. If somehow they could have hid that he was the leader, because they didn't outrightly do it in the other. Because there's this part. I'm never gonna get over how this movie was marketed. This is the one time it gets to me. But him being in the background consistently, only doing a couple of things here and there, was really good. I do say, though, part of me wishes, this has nothing to do with the leader, because he was great in everything they did. I kind of wish we would have actually gotten more than just Sidewinder from the Serpent Society.
Same.
Because for those who forget, this is an actual delivery on a joke that they did at a Comic-Con panel where they said Captain America and the Serpent Society as the fake headline for Civil War.
It wasn't Comic-Con. It was like a special presentation at the El Capitan Theater.
Oh, I thought it was Comic-Con. Oh, either way, it was a fake joke that they changed and then made a reality with this movie, which I did not think they were going to pay back off ever, because I just thought Serpent Society we're not bringing Snake Men onto this movie, which, you look at what Seth Rollins looked like when they were shooting the shots, they very actively rethought what they were going to make the Serpent Society look like, because it's apparently what it sounds like, Seth was what Giancarlo's role was.
Oh, and that's what they changed?
It's because he said the tone of the movie and how we looked at certain characters, and then when Giancarlo became available, we knew what we had to put in. The way they worded it sounds like they straight up just kicked Seth clean out of the movie and put Giancarlo in.
I mean, either way, it's an upgrade.
Yeah, like, I like Seth Rollins, but you're not Giancarlo Esposito. But, it was a very rather small casted movie, which I appreciated. Ruth was good. Joaquin was good. Sam, great as frickin' always. The character's always done well. It was great to see Isaiah for a little bit again. This felt like a very lived-in movie, like you actually just walked around a Marvel active New York, as I like to bring up. Mm-hmm. And I will say that it kind of feels like they were trying to do Winter Soldier again.
It's kind of like, the best way I can describe this is it kind of has tonally it's a mix between the Winter Soldier and the first Avenger, where it's a little bit pulpier because you got the leader as the big bad, and you're dealing with all the stuff from the Incredible Hulk. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, going back to what we were saying about dumb arguments about the Hulk not being canon, in that movie they mentioned things like the super soldier serum, and again, Tony Stark in the post-credit scene.
And Abomination in She-Hulk.
Yep. but the Incredible Hulk is more of it's like a deeper canonized movie than even the first Iron Man, really.
It is. And you want, that is the one cut they have left that they haven't done. And if they somehow in Doomsday or what is the other one called?
Secret Wars?
Secret Wars. I don't think they can. But the one string they have left to pull, because you're not getting Terrence Howard back.
No.
You're just not. That bridge is burnt. I'm pretty sure this one is too. But of the two they were going to work at, you're going to get a bigger pop if somehow in Secret Wars or Doomsday you're able to get Norton back. It ain't happening.
No, it's definitely not happening. But if that were to happen, you would get a huge pop, because that would imply that the two parties they came to an understanding. they're on better terms. Blah blah blah.
You know, I say this, and then I have to somehow actively act like Blade showing up in Deadpool and Wolverine didn't happen.
That's true. Because that's something none of us saw coming.
No, because we drastically misunderstood the situation where Wesley was even like, no, we just let you guys think we hated each other. I really had nothing against Ryan whatsoever. But everyone thought they hated each other. Now, I fully believe that Edward Norton was very mad at Marvel because Edward Norton's not known for being the most, like, chill and easy guy at times. So, I could believe it, but it's just the right stack of money for, like, a 10-minute fight where he doesn't even have to be there. He could just, like, blah, 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 and they get turned into the Hulk and they do everything else. I'm not gonna lie, I might come out of my seat directly through the roof of a theater if that actively happened. But about that, I'm still trying to wrap my head around. Like, we heard the words mutant and mutation. I am still actively struggling with the fact that we actually had a MCU Marvel character say adamantium.
Yeah. Also the fact that they're like, so the thing about Tiamat in the Indian Ocean, that it's not just a thing in the background. It's like the focus of this movie.
Yeah. It's almost like world events can happen without them being brought up in another Marvel movie. Crazy, right? It's almost like their stuff is more important, and half of these Marvel movies happen within a 2-day span.
Mm-hmm.
God,
but also this kind of continues the trend of the Captain America movies being the most like world building of the MCU.
You're not wrong. Never really thought about it that way, but you're not wrong. But I just... And what this... What is weird about this is because we don't have any X-Men movies. They're planning one. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine can't exist right now.
Nope.
Well, pre-Adamantium Wolverine can. Does this mean, possibly, in a first X-Men movie, we actually get to see Logan implanted with the adamantium?
I guess if that's the direction they're going in.
Because timeline-wise, unless you're gonna bring them in, because we're assuming that's what's gonna happen with the Fantastic Four.
I'm still not sure how I feel about how they introduce the X-Men.
I don't know. Because it's so weird having the adamantium be clearly not here until like a month ago in story time for Marvel. This is a first.
It's definitely different. I want to see Fantastic Four first before I get excited about the idea of the X-Men coming from like a different universe, unless it's the universe that Rambo ended up in at the end of the Marvels.
Well, I got a feeling it's that. It's just, if they make them naturally born mutants here, like Weapon X will be starting with the movies. That's a weird timeline to think about.
Oh, but you know why that's okay? Because then we can have the classic lineup be the first X-Men.
Yeah, we could. If they're ballsy enough to actually make the classic lineup the actual original classic lineup, I'll have to see what they do. That would be crazy if they did not put Wolverine in the very first Marvel movie.
I really hope they go in that direction.
Because realistically, we're probably going to have Wolverine show up in one of, if not both, of those new Avengers movies.
Yeah. No, he's definitely showing up in at least Secret Wars.
Because so is Deadpool and probably a couple of others. So that'll be interesting to see how they handle that. Yeah, that'll be interesting. So the aerial fights over Tiamat were awesome.
Yeah, that was some of my favorite action sequences, like the stuff in the air, and yes, the fight with Red Hulk. Like those are like the money shots.
It was, but like even with Iron Man, we never got to see a lot of just straight up dogfights in the air with him.
And these are the only two characters, like, who really can pull that off.
Mm-hmm. So
like,
it was
yeah,
cool to
Iron
see.
Man does have like projectiles, but like this Captain America and Falcon both have wings that can like tear apart other jets.
Yeah, and this is what I mean by like, other than one or two shots where he's following something and like firing a rocket at it, you never see him actively chasing stuff in the air like this. If you do, it's rarely ever. We don't get to see dodging gunfire, dodging missiles, shooting in between supersonic fighter jets. It was a cool thing to see that we're like, I need more of this duo because that's the sickest shit.
It is.
I'll take more Top Gun in my Marvel movies, please. Because everyone else is ground based. Like, you have characters that fly, but half the time when they're flying, they're just lifting up to fire at something, then dropping, or lifting up and then flying towards something and dropping again.
Yeah, I want to see more like, really just in general, I want to see more like uniquely staged action sequences, and I think the success of Top Gun Maverick has like convinced filmmakers like James Gunn in the new Superman, and seemingly this movie, like, oh no, aerial sequences are awesome, do more of those.
Absolutely. And it's how do I want to say this? They're freaking great, and you can actually show the expertise of something like Wilson and his how long he's been doing this for, as he was in that troop, and Joaquin being taught by him, where you're actively having carrier fights out in the ocean. Again, another thing they never do, because it's just basic army. It's something you never had involved that much, even in the Captain America movies. Like, they had fights on top of stuff that was in the air. But yeah, it was fantastic. Actually, having the entire movie hinge upon this Accord that they were trying to fix, and showing Ross actually having some humanity and feeling like he's actually changed, genuinely, is really nice to see.
Yeah, I like seeing the humanity in Ross more than just him being, angry at the world because reasons.
Yeah, and like actually showing that he's lost his daughter, he's lost everything because of how he acted. That's pretty great. And I'm going to wonder if they asterisk it, because this is putting a lot more onto who, why, or how they start out as the Thunderbolts and then aren't. You have to wonder if the name of the Thunderbolts was a thing and then Red Hulk happened.
Oh, and that's why in the trailer, Bucky's like, yeah, we can't call ourselves
We
that.
can't call ourselves that. Or they're like, he was trying to make things better. We could call ourselves the Thunderbolts. And then regardless, Bucky's like, no, we're not doing that.
Speaking of Bucky,
Yes. Just end the movie. So they're like, who are they cutting to? I'm like, there's no fucking way old man Steve Rogers is right there. So then it turns to just went, "Wait, what? Bucky's in here for roughly 2 minutes?
I bet this is probably one of the reshot scenes where, they were doing additional photography and Sebastian Stan's like, hey, I'm not doing anything. Can I come by for a weekend?
Yeah, and it's like, we need someone to talk with Sam, and would have to be able to talk with him about struggling and stuff like that. And I do appreciate that they actively brought up the super soldier serum a lot. I hadn't even joked about it, because that is one of my biggest sticking point when I talk with people. They're like, he's Captain America because of the super soldier serum. I'm like,
Nope.
tell me you actively didn't watch the first Captain America movie without telling me. Did you not miss the entire thing, which I thought Bucky was going to say to Sam, where he goes, I didn't pick you because you were a soldier, because you're a good man.
Yep.
I actively thought Bucky was going to tell him that. Like, Steve told me about the doctor and all this. And not to say it wouldn't work on Sam and he wouldn't get the exact things out of it. But what makes Captain America is the person who fights for the right thing. And fights for what he feels America should be. Which is what he meant by those comments, you stupid, dumb idiots.
Seriously.
Here's the best thing. Chris Evans said the exact same statement years ago when he was interviewing what Captain America stands for. He said literally the same thing.
And yet nobody batted an eye because
No.
we know why.
I just can't imagine what the difference between those two people would be. But and I like they're being serious about showing that the serum doesn't make you Captain America, but they're not afraid of to later, after he's been in a 10-minute fight with the Red Hulk going, screw Bucky, I should have took that damn serum. Which is awesome, because it's like, you are fighting basically the Incredible Hulk right now, and you're like, oh god, and like something that even with the serum, you would just be in less pain. Because you'd still be getting batted around.
Exactly.
So, there's a reason why they didn't have Cap fight the Hulk. They had Thor fight the Hulk.
Yeah.
But, okay, so I have to ask. Did you think that Betty was going to show up during the fight?
Part of me thought like she would be there, like just to watch the press conference, like after he made the phone call. Mm-hmm. But when that didn't happen, I thought, oh, so she's just not going to be in the movie then, at all. And then the prison scene happened.
Yeah, I thought she was going to be in the, like, she wasn't at the press conference, and then I was like, maybe they were going to have something where Sam called her after he's like, no, there was an actual honest-to-God change of heart with him, and he's like, she's probably not showing up, but I'm going to get her number and call her. And then he just called her too late, and she shows up halfway through that fight because she was traveling and en route and went, well, shit, brah, and then go over here, I'm going to stop my dad who's going nuts. I was like, she might show up there, but having her, and I literally thought they weren't going to get Liv to come back. I don't remember her talking about her having like a bad experience or anything.
Yeah, me neither.
I just kind of felt like ever since they tried the Natasha thing, she was just kind of like tossed to the wayside. Yeah, like we totally forgot that Betty existed, kind of deal. Like, we're doing this because we're acting like the Incredible Hulk film doesn't exist at that moment, because this was before we got Thaddeus coming back for Civil War. So I kind of just feel like we're like, this is a new Hulk. We're forgetting everything happened. And then, yeah, it was really nice to have her back. I would kind of like if she stayed around.
Same.
Because if we're actually going to do more with the Hulk in the future, it would be kind of cool to get those two back together.
Agreed.
It just would be really nice. Just the actual image of seeing Ruffalo and Liv on the screen together would feel so weird. Because of just the giant degree of this fake separation that's been created, it would feel like she's from a different version of the Hulk, but she isn't.
Was there any dialogue in like Age of Ultron that explained why they were split apart?
I don't think so. I don't think they... I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think they mentioned the word Ross after the Incredible Hulk until Civil War.
Huh.
If I'm thinking correctly. Put in the comments if I'm wrong in the exact scene, but I am pretty sure they don't even mention that family exists until Civil War.
Interesting.
They just wholesale just acted like they weren't there. Like, he may have mentioned, I've tried this stuff in the past and it didn't work. Okay. Okay. I can remember one time they referenced the Incredible Hulk before Civil War and She-Hulk. Ruffalo mentions Harlem in Avengers, but that is it. Because he said the last time I did whatever, I tore up half of Harlem.
Oh,
but,
well, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, like that's all that they do. But no, they just kind of, yeah, like it didn't exist. And the irony at the end of seeing Thaddeus in the raft as a prisoner.
Yeah, I thought about that.
That was pretty good. It was cool seeing him openly give up his presidency, which opens the door for a certain Spider-Man storyline, if you know what I'm talking about. Cause who becomes the president when the Dark Avengers are a thing?
Yep.
I'm just saying, if they do that, it would be insane. But if they introduce Norman Osborn as the president for the very first time we see Norman Osborn,
that would be insane.
It would be incredible. Yeah, that we didn't talk enough about it, but that talk with Bucky and like Steve wouldn't have screwed up. That's just not that, because like even Steve doubts himself, like even jokingly. I can't remember if it's a deleted scene or if it was, or at the moment right now if it was actually in Endgame. But there is a moment where Rhodey point blank calls out Steve like, "So why'd you go down? Why'd you crash the plane?" It was because there's bombs on board. There's bombs on board. Why didn't you jump out of the plane? And then Steve just doesn't answer him because he doesn't have a good answer. But, like, yeah, no, Steve screwed up plenty. Like, he woke up in the middle of a river. Bucky saved him, and it's, like, bad crap's gonna happen. Yeah, need to see Joaquin around more. We'll see a new possible Captain America soon because the Red Hulk ripped that adamantium to shreds. Not the vibranium to shreds.
Which that's another thing. Like, I like the fact that this, like, people are always gonna bitch about like the nanotech helmet and all of that we see in like a bunch of these superheroes, but
I will admit they do need to back off on that just a tad.
They do.
Yeah.
But as far as like Sam's suit and his wings, I like that because he doesn't have the super serum, that he has the vibranium armor.
Yes.
Because that will level the playing field.
Absolutely. Like actually bouncing stuff off of it. Like, there's that moment when he gets hit and he's looking at the vibranium just, like, shaking like crazy. He goes, oh boy. Like, the first time they ever saw vibranium tested, they're like, oh, that's not gonna hold up. But, yeah, so it'll be interesting now because, like, they bring it up in the movie that this is such this rare material that can get used for all these advancements, and it's not being held by Wakanda. And spoiler alert, Ryan Coogler's working on another Black Panther because Denzel Washington spilled the beans.
Yep.
Do you think there might be a plot somewhere between finding out for real on screen adamantium versus vibranium, or Wakanda kind of being tested because now they're not as a sacred a thing because they have vibranium or have adamantium to deal with now?
That is a great question.
Because it's an argument fanboys make, but more often than not, other than when Cap's shield is being cut by Wolverine's claws, you really don't have a whole lot of just straight against each other with adamantium versus vibranium because they're typically both wielded by heroes.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how adamantium is used from this point forward.
Yes, and it'll be interesting to see if we get more of the Eternals, if they ever mentioned if any of the other Eternals are made of adamantium, or it was just specifically Tiamat, just turned into adamantium when they stopped the resurgence? What is that called again?
Oh, the emergence?
Emergence, that's what it is. It'll be interesting, because I don't know how, other than it's been around, that you would have done adamantium, because that's what they've always it's just been a thing and we found it, and now it's a big deal that like they're going to be chiseling apart Tiamat to get adamantium off of it. Yeah,
I hope we get more Eternal stuff. Like, the fact that Tiamat was brought up in this movie alone gives me some hope that maybe there's an idea down the line. Like, the fact that we're doing Incredible Hulk callbacks 16 years later, or however long it's been.
Okay, my knees just cracked. You can't. God, don't remind me that the Incredible Hulk was 60 years ago. Ah!
Point is,
Oh.
if they can like call back to movies from that long ago that by their own admission didn't do well financially, then I think there's hope for more Eternal stuff.
Also, here's a thing that I've always had as kind of a gripe when people bitch about Tiamat being in the middle of the ocean. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. The Eternals don't automatically data wipe anyone who sees them, correct?
Not that I know of.
Do you remember how Eternals ends?
Oh, where everyone just sees
Sees a giant planet-sized head abduct like 3 people?
and nobody cares.
Nobody cares about that, but they're like, no, they never bitch about no one mentioning that ever again. Unless I'm completely spacing on how they somehow Men in Black neuralizer if you see them, which I don't think they do.
No, I don't think so either.
No one brings that up ever. The true real thing we should be talking about, how people got abducted by a giant 9 billion story tall alien. But yeah, and everybody was taken there. Dane Whitman had something to do in there. Oh boy, they've forgotten about him if we want to talk about stuff not being brought up. And now that was the only time we've seen Blade in the MCU before this Blade.
And we never even saw him. It was just the
No.
voice.
And it was, well, that's a sword you're dealing with. Did you know my name's Blade? Cut to credits. I had to look up who that was. I know Mahershala Ali's voice. That was such a offline that I'm like, who the hell was that? And then now he hasn't appeared in the movie. I'm like, okay, people are going to bitch about stuff being brought up again in the Eternals, but they're not talking about the biggest two. I think the world government would be really happy to know about. We're wondering about Elseworlds and multiverses, but not the giant 900 story alien. But anyway, yeah, it's like all the lost toys are kind of in the basket now. Because, like, we have the X-Men, we have the one forgotten Marvel movie, like, completely back in the fold. Spider-Man's there. Now we just need to go forward. You really can't recover anything else. For crying out loud, we have Namor, even though I guess part of his rights are still in a basement at Universal somewhere.
Yeah, but don't know how they're gonna untangle that one.
I don't know, but you've got a lot to go forward off of. Did it kind of feel like to you that end credit scene was very last minute?
Again, probably another reshoot edition.
Because I'm trying to be like, that's only going to be brought up if like they get sucked into Battle World or whatever we're gonna call it in Doomsday, where they're like, damn it, Sturms was right. And then it's just going to be called off from that because he's going to be like, okay, you're a whack job. Not talking to you anymore. But
yeah, that's the thing about that scene. Like, I have a feeling that, like, it's pretty explicitly just a generic tease for the future.
Yeah.
But it's so vague that, like, he could be talking about anything. Mm-hmm. Like he could be bringing up like Arishem coming back to Earth, or just like we don't know what he's referring to specifically.
Right. And they're like they I know what they meant in the wording where there's like there could be another blah 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 like parallel worlds, which honestly, if he's gonna talk and be a statistical person, yeah. It's very weird to bring that up like, there's a possibility there might be one, and if it is, they're coming for you. Why would they, Stearns? 'Cause new movie, though. But it's to get people talking. It's to be like, hey, don't forget, multiverse is only gonna have, like, 2 more times to shine, and it's going to be in both those Avengers movies, because we probably sure as hell aren't bringing it up in Thunderbolts.
Yeah, no.
But, yeah, I will admit, this movie did kind of feel like it was just there at points. It does not feel empty and shallow like some people tried to say that it was. And some people like to forget there was a bunch of movies just like this in the first 3 phases that everyone likes to say are perfect.
Oh, yeah, no. Phase 1 and Phase 2, yeah. Those 2 phases had movies that were, you know, Iron Man 2, which I like, is also very kind of flat in terms of like story progression.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Thor the Dark World, outside of the stuff with Thor and Loki, nobody remembers Malekith or the Ether or any of that stuff.
Yeah, and other than getting an Infinity Stone, it was a good movie, but other than a 5-minute talk from Thanos, which didn't add anything, Guardians didn't move the story forward that much at all. Captain America did, again, which you brought up and I agree, as kind of the one that kicked the can down the road.
Yeah.
And then the Avengers movie happened. And that did the most, which is what it normally did. Now everyone likes to forget how these movies happen, and now that they've had the MCU for so long, if this would have happened in Phase 1 or 2, people would not be as hard on it. They just wouldn't. But they think everything has to be an 18 out of 10. and I can't remember what podcast I was watching, but they brought it up where some of those movies that even if they were an 8 at that time because they were a Marvel movie, felt like everyone was saying it was a 10.
Even like phase 2 and phase 3, that was when Marvel was like at its peak popularity, where the whole concept of a shared universe was still relatively fresh. People got excited about these things. It was also pre-COVID, so more people were just going to the movies.
Yes, you're not wrong. But yeah, this is a case of like I said, trailers didn't help this thing, but also it's people just wanted to not like this movie.
Yeah, no. This is not my favorite Captain America movie.
No.
It's probably not even like my top 25 MCU. It's good. I enjoyed it. It is kind of like Iron Man 2, where I enjoyed watching it, but I acknowledge it definitely has some pacing issues.
Oh yeah.
You can kind of, it's more seamless than I thought it would be, but you can still kind of feel where the reshoots happened and where they didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's
do you remember when McDonald's put out toys for like the kids meal like a year or two before this new release date?
yeah.
That's how long this movie has been in development.
Eesh, I don't like to think about that. Good lord. Yeah, that. Ugh. And like it'll be different because this is the awkward phase. Someone kind of brought up that this and they believe Thunderbolts will be a better, but like this and Thunderbolts are the last batch of the like phase of trying to have what they essentially did with phase 1 and 2, but on a giant scale with having a shit like one phase be twice as big and have the movies and all this stuff tie in to have all these characters available for when this big multiverse thing happens, that they're all introduced. Because we thought a lot of people were in Endgame. There's gonna be a lot of people in these two movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be a lot. I wouldn't doubt if this is one of those both movies shot at the same time type of deals where everyone has to be there and they block out like a year of shooting.
Oh, they're 100% doing that.
Yeah.
Like I don't even understand why they wouldn't, unless like maybe certain actors have like commitments for other projects and they can't all be in the same place at once.
Oh, so I wouldn't doubt it that they do it. I just wouldn't doubt that this entire two movies is shot over a time to where, all right, we have these people, this weekend. It's all you. This guy's off shooting this TV show, so he's not here. This person. They probably have an entire giant calendar of every other weekend where the exact 9 characters they need for a scene can shoot.
Yeah, this shoot's gonna be massive.
Yeah, it's gonna be freaking ridiculous. And you thought like they barely got everything under wraps now when they're doing the little like hitting camera trying to videotape shit so no one notices. Hey. It's gonna be big. But all right. I don't got anything else, do you?
I think we covered about everything.
All right. Yeah, like I said, this movie was not the best. It wasn't the worst. I would honestly give it a 7.5 or an 8-ish.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I can enjoy something that's not a 13 out of 10.
Yeah, sometimes a movie is just it's just good or just like entertaining.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I don't feel like I wasted my money. I'm like, cool. Yeah, but all right, Mike, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us here on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/renegadepopculture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You need escape, so do we.
Absolutely. And you can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero, mainly on Twitch and YouTube. If you're into conventions and cosplays and such, you can look at my Instagram at Organoid Zero. And if you're interested in the other podcasts that I'm a part of outside of my own, which is Zeroing Out, you can go check out the Geeking Out podcast on Athletic Geek 89's channel. Me and my buddy Eli pick a single subject and jabber on about it for an hour. It's a good time. All right, everyone. Until next time, we will see you all later. Bye.